Do you know what episode this is, by the way, Curtis?
39, right?
That's correct.
39.
All right, far away, Curtis.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Broken by Concepts, episode 39. We have a special episode today rather than just me and Nathan. We have two guests. Usually we have one guest. We've got two guests today. And before I introduce them, we're going to be doing a special episode revolving around this question. Can there ever be a female world champion in League of Legends? Is it possible? And what would need to happen for this to be the case? And to help us break down and dive in and explore this question in this topic, we have Athena in the bottom left-hand corner, and we have Gabi, two Oceanic high elo players that I've played with in solo queue. Nathan's played with in solo queue. So if you guys just want to do a very brief introduction about you, maybe your current rank, how long you've been playing, that sort of thing. So you want to kick it off, Athena?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm known as Kitty online mostly, but I've been playing League for 6 years now, and I've hit Challenger when I was Season 7. So I've been Challenger for 3 consistent years, and this year I actually hit Challenger maybe a week ago, and I think I'm the first female to hit Challenger in the world. I think.
Really? Oh,
yeah, because it's so early in the season.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how long have you been playing League for, Athena? You said
I started in Season 4. So
Season 4, okay.
And Gabi?
Hey, I'm Gabi. I'm Cshani 2. I've played since the end of Season 2. So I was like 14.
OG.
Yeah. Did more League than school. I haven't hit Challenger, but I've hit about 520 LP. This season, I'm in my Master promos because I'm not playing as much, but hopefully get back up there.
And you're a nurse in real life, Gabi?
Yeah. So
that's obviously where you're busy, you know, helping people save lives on...
yeah, sometimes, yeah.
In real life and on the Rift. So yeah, as Curtis said, what we want to do is explore this question with you guys. Curtis and I could have easily done this podcast by ourselves, but we obviously need your perspectives. We thought, why don't we have, you know, some female guests on who have played in high elo specifically, and that's where I think that would be really the difference between, say, maybe talking about solo queue is something we talk a lot about on this show here, just the importance of solo queue. I mean, a lot of our advice and content is around getting better at the game. But obviously, you guys have hit pretty much the peak, of League of Legends. Hitting Challengers like top 100, top 200. It's top 50 in OS. So definitely one of some of the best players on the server.
Well, I want to preface this, Nathan. I think today's episode will be uncomfortable. And look, I'm going to be brutally honest. Like, I was worried to do this episode. This is a topic
in League of Legends, right?
No one really covers this stuff in depth. And I respect both of you so much in terms of not just like, you guys are actually genuinely very good at the game. And you guys, and the way I wanted to frame this was, this is a very uncomfortable topic. And I think there are so many ways to break this down. So I want to look at it from, the League of Legends cultural aspect. I want to look at it from a very personal aspect, like what it would be like specifically being in your shoes, what got you into gaming in the first place, what separates you from maybe some of the other girls playing League, and really get into the nitty-gritty, get into the details here. And look, if any time during this episode, maybe myself or Nathan ask something too personal, like feel free to like
absolutely
pass on the question. But yeah. Just kick it off.
And I think starting with the extreme, it's like, I mean, obviously, Athena and Gabi here, you guys obviously not world champions in League of Legends, but it's like exploring the best case scenario. It's like, okay, female world champion, one of the best players in the world, and then let's just bring it all the way back. It's like, how's that possible? So where I wanted to start with, Curtis sort of touched on there, is talking about, maybe differentiating you from other female players, you guys. You guys have probably heard all the time this statistic thrown around in gaming. There's just like the same amount of female gamers as male gamers. You guys have heard that before? It's like a statistic that people love throwing around. And okay, well, I mean, it's in every esports deck. They love saying that, right? It's like a gaming thing. So there's a huge differentiation between gaming and esports, like esports games. So when they throw that statistic out, they're like counting potentially games like Farmville and like you're playing like stuff on your phone. Like I mean, for us, what esports is a competitive game. You know, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Dota, and I mean, from your guys' experience, do you think it's in esports games? Would you think that's a correct statistic, 50-50 split?
Well, I think obviously in the competitive scene, there's already a minority of players, which are the female player base in high elo, and I think they just don't share. This is kind of stereotypical, but I don't think females share the same competitive drive as males because they weren't raised up in that type of environment. As you could, when if I give an example, when males grow up, they were always introduced to the idea of video games. Like parents encouraged it, people, all of the male friends played video games. But females, well, I have Asian parents, and this is kind of personal. But when my parents found out when I played League of Legends, they were like, "Oh, who introduced you to League of Legends? That's a guy game, you know." So I feel like from the get-go, females already discouraged in the esports scene.
So when you first picking up League, it was like you viewed it, or you were told it's a guy game.
Yeah, they were like, what, "You're a girl. Why are you playing this type of?" This was like 2014. Like the game was barely popular. Well, it was kind of popular, but not to this extent.
And would you say it's the exact same now? You'd still call it? You think a female coming is still a guy game? Is that how you'd view it?
Well, obviously, statistically, esports, I don't think there has been a really prominent female player that has represented the female player base in esports. So I guess it's still a majority, a male-dominated game, especially in esports. So I think for me, my parents were always discouraging me from playing League, even though I told them that I was good, but because they were saying how, oh, you know, females have a weaker mental or like a more fragile ego, because males, I've heard very specific details of how competitive pro players confront each other during or in between their matches, or like after a defeat or a loss after an esport game, and all of them, or if your team is like really close, mostly everyone has seen each other cry, right? And I just feel like my parents were discouraging me from that type of environment because I think I couldn't handle that type of treatment
from other guy players.
Not just from just like how harsh reality can be.
Got it.
Yeah, like if
so they try to protect you and shield you. That's what they want to do as parents.
Yeah, they think females should be more protected and they're more fragile mentally. So that's why I think.
Did you have the same experience, Gabi, growing up playing League of Legends? Did your parents know you play League of Legends, or?
My family's like a bit different. I grew up like with the PS1. We were playing like Time Splitters, we were playing Unreal Tournament, stuff like that.
You have siblings, Gabi? Older brothers?
Yeah, I got 2 older brothers. So.
Got it. Yeah.
But like even so, we were playing like all those shooters, stuff like that. My parents still bought me Barbie games. So there's still that marketing towards women. The fact that women aren't encouraged to play a more competitive sort of fast-paced game, and they give you like Cooking Mama, they give you Barbie games, they give you horse games, Neopets, shit like that. Like it's not, for some reason they seem to think that women don't want to be as competitive, so they just don't encourage it in the first place, which I don't know where that's gotten from. But
is that a crossover from sports as well? Even were you encouraged to play sports growing up?
No, we were all encouraged to play sports. I played soccer, but then I didn't even like soccer because I was scared of boys kicking me. So, it's sort of like, the way I see it is, what was I going to say? I forgot.
Encouraging
Oh, like your
sports.
experience, your experience growing up, and then how Nathan introduced.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Real
So,
sports. What was that like for you?
it was like, growing up, my brother was in uni and he introduced League to me when he was like 18 or 19. And I started playing, and my parents, they didn't like me playing as much, and my mum would want me to go and learn how to cook with her and do stuff like that, like more domestic sort of things, even though gaming has always been something that I have enjoyed. So it's very interesting in that my brothers could play League and they could grind it for 12 hours a day. My parents still didn't like it, but they didn't actively try to get them to do anything else. It was only to me where they would try to get me to do anything else. So
fascinating. Well, look, I want to actually kind of bounce back on something Athena said. I'd love to get you guys' take on this. So one of the things you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said something about how, like, you know, guys, you've heard from people you know about like what it's like at the highest level in terms of talking about the game in a review, and how angry people get and how emotionally invested they get and that whole thing. And you were saying how like there's egos involved and all that. I actually think that if anything, that's actually a negative in many ways. And I think that you're right. Guys, in many ways, in my opinion, when it comes to League, are much more insecure, believe it or not, about their level of play in League than you would think. But that's why they project so much in League. So, like, I want to explore and get your guys' take on it, because let me just put it out there really simply. A part of me, one of the elements at play here, as to why maybe we don't see as many girls play at the higher level. Like, obviously there's an upbringing factor in the amount of games you're able to play, just raw amount of games played. But the other thing I reckon is the lack of confidence, knowing that there aren't any other girls who have done it. No other girls
reached the top. Well, I mean,
there's no one out there who's got like rank 1. You haven't seen like a really high ranked rank 1 female, or you haven't seen a girl go pro before. That it hasn't been done before. And my theory, and I want to get your guys' take on this, is all it takes is one really great female League player, one pro female League pro player. We can get into that, whether that's even possible. All it takes is one. And one of the biggest reasons is that a female, when they come, or a girl when they come into the game, they're not everyone around them. Everyone they're playing with, everyone they see, you're not, it's weird if you're good. You're an outlier. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you know, you're getting, there's all these pressures being put onto you. And I think that this is purely one of the biggest reasons is because it hasn't really been done before. Do you think, in your experience, in your own experience,
just climbing up to solo queue, purely talking about solo queue here, right? Like, you guys
pure solo queue
challenger, yeah.
Has that been something that's played on your mind? Like, wow, this has never been done before, or this is just not something. There's no one. I'm the only one here. Especially Gabi, you last season, you were like this really aggressive. The way you played,
Bard and Thresh, right? That's your mains.
and to give a bit of background, like Gabi and solo queue for me was one of the most scary solo queue players to verse. It pissed me off. Like, running around, like, Gabi plays a lot of Bard, and she would run around.
It's a 1v2 mid, isn't it, Curtis? Just a 1v2 mid.
Oh, it was like versing Cupcakes Bard at the time.
Yeah.
And it was
8-minute Rift Herald. Run into 8-minute Rift Herald. Here we go. We got a Bard here.
You know, and that, yeah, that's always fascinated me. It's like, has that been, for you guys, has that been a thing that you've thought about in the past? Like, hasn't really been done before?
No. I think you're right in that the idea of becoming pro or having a female pro is really scary, because that's like a complete unknown that hasn't really happened. But in terms of high elo solo queue, it's really not that scary, I think, just because our community is so small. And we tend to know everyone. Like, when I first climbed, people didn't actually know I was a girl until.
Well, that's the thing. Theoretically, you could literally hide your your gender, just like you're just a name, and no one would ever know, right? So theoretically, someone could maybe climb up to rank 1. It's like, whoa! It's like then finally, I mean, eventually everyone knows who the rank 1 player is, right? And it's like, oh, you know, hey guys, I'm actually, you know, a female player. So yeah, is that something you guys thought about potentially? It's like, you know, climbing high to the next level. It's like, would people be surprised? I mean, obviously they'll be surprised, right?
They are surprised all the time, but it's just funny that it's like something that happens to be so rare. But then you think like there could be players that just don't reveal that they are girls, like I didn't for a really long time. There could be other players. I don't know if that's actually true, but there definitely could be. But at the moment in solo queue, I don't really think about the fact that I'm a girl, except when I get weird comments. So, yeah.
What about you, Athena, in terms of your experience climbing to Challenger?
Well, obviously, when I started playing League, when I started climbing, it was when dynamic queue was a thing. If you guys remember, it was when you could play with like 3 people.
Yeah,
like
that was
4.
everyone hated dynamic queue,
but you could play with at least 3. And I remember when I first got introduced into high-elo, people already knew I was a girl. I couldn't just really hide it because my name was being spread around. They're like, oh, this is new e-girl in the block, you know? And I was just like, oh, hey guys, being like a little 14-year-old. Like, I was 14 when I was like masters, right?
Yeah.
And,
wow.
and yeah, I was actually 14. So
That's insane.
I was like, oh, hey guys, you know, I'm a girl. I guess I can't really hide it anymore. And nowadays, people, since Gabi said our community is so small, I can't really hide my identity in like my games anymore because I've been trying to become a streamer. So people like just know me as like, oh, you're that high-elo girl player. So I feel like, yes, you can be anonymous when you climb, but once you get into the higher ranks, and obviously, in my opinion, one of the ways to get really high rank is to make a lot of, like, befriend a lot of those high rank players. And obviously people use Discord and like call with each other. It makes the game 10 times easier. And I think it's just going to be really hard to be that good while being completely anonymous. So I feel like your gender or your identity will be leaked somewhere along the line of climbing to that high of a rank. But I feel like once everyone finds out your gender, they treat you extremely different from how they were treating you before.
And do you think that's a disadvantage? Is it to a disadvantage or advantage? What do you think?
Obviously, okay, this is completely personal experience. I have been treated very well by a lot of people. I know people talk shit behind my back, but they don't talk shit into my face because I'm a girl. They're like, oh, you know, I can't be mean. I need to be a nice guy. I can't like be mean to a girl. You know, you don't fight with a girl, so why would you be mean to a girl? It's like those like stereotypes, you know. But I know a lot of NA female players that are Grandmaster and Master. They get a lot of sexist comments that get thrown. They're like, oh, you know, Enchanter, like they're like, I have a disgusting e-girl on my team, just FF, you know. And I feel like because OC is such a, well, this is personal experience again, I feel like OC is such a small community, we're a lot like tighter, I guess. It's a lot more friendly in our environment compared to NA, which is like what, 5 times our player base, I think. And obviously the ratio of like 1 toxic person to like 5 nice people there will be a lot more toxic people. So I feel like if you're being a girl in a major region, maybe you'll get treated a lot more differently than...
You would have a more negative experience, but you've actually had a positive experience climbing Challenger and solo queue.
Yeah.
Because OS is a tight-knit community.
And because everyone knows each other, if I say, oh, this person has been talking behind my back like negatively, obviously my boys will be like, oh, this guy, he needs to get jumped.
Like drama. It's like we've got,
you know,
Geordie Shore or something like that. It's like you can't talk to my friend like that. What about you, Gabi? Have you had the same experiences? I mean, you said positive, right? But what I want to know from you, Gabi, is so when did you decide to, you know, tell people that you're a female player?
I decided to tell everyone once I had respect as a player, actually.
And what did that mean
Because
for you? Was that when you hit Grandmaster or almost Challenger?
yeah, that was, I don't know, I think a year ago, when I really started playing Bard. And
Yeah.
it just felt like I was playing really, really well, and I sort of felt like I was lying a lot, and I didn't really enjoy that. And I still don't know if I'm happy that I did it or not. I think I am because it's good for other women, but at the same time, I'm not because, as Kitty said, there are players that are like so much nicer to you now that you know are simply only nice because you happen to be a girl. But like I've had high elo players be nice to me, and then when my boyfriend's playing solo queue, they'll harass him, like because I'm dating him.
Right.
So I don't know. I think largely it's been positive because, yeah, it's a really tightly knit community, but at the same time, you sort of question people's motives a lot, and you feel like, are they being nice to you because they think you're a good player? Are they being nice to you because you happen to be a girl? So I just don't tend to socialize that much anyway.
So why, Gabby? Why? I don't know from you guys. Why did you decide to climb to Challenger in League of Legends? It's like it's such a people, talk about it's such a miserable experience playing League of Legends and stuff. It's like what? Why you could do anything else? Why play? Why try and improve? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to actively think to improve at League of Legends. You don't just randomly get it by playing thousands of games. How many people do you know that have thousands of games stuck in silver and gold, right? So, what was the decision? Like, did you sit there study VODs? Like, but why? Why do this?
Well, oh yeah, you can go, Gabi. You go.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I actually was initially like Diamond Hardstock. So when I first hit Diamond 1, I was 15, and then every year from there I was like Hardstock, D5, D4, and it wasn't because I didn't want to actively get really good. I didn't think I could. And like for me, for so
why
long,
do you think you could?
I think because I play the game because I enjoy the game. Like at the moment, I play Bard because I find him fun. I don't play other supports because I don't enjoy them, and I don't see the idea of being pro very feasible for me anyway. So, I think in terms of it all, I just want to win. So that's why.
You're naturally competitive.
So you would say you're a competitive person, competitive player.
I think now. I didn't think I used to be. I used to be really shy. I used to get a lot of anxiety. I didn't type at all. I didn't join any Discords. But now, like, as I'm coming more into myself and becoming more comfortable, it's like I enjoy winning. I enjoy learning the game. So that's why I wanted to climb. And I really enjoyed the grind. It's really fun.
What about you, Athena? Why did you decide to get good at the game?
For me, it was a completely different story. League of Legends was my first game that was ever introduced to me as a kid. So when I was like 12, and I played it until, which is like, I played it until now where I'm 18. I played it for 6 years. So League is obviously the most addicting game when you first get hooked onto it. Everyone knows how that feels. But I am a weird case because I talk to a lot of other high elo players that are striving to get good. And they're like, oh, I only watch like LCK and LPL to get good. And all my YouTube recommendation is just VODs of like Uzi and like Teddy and stuff like that, and I'm just like, oh, I don't watch any League content outside of just playing the game. Like, I don't actually use outside sources to get better at the game. I just play the game. I just sit down
purely through experience. You just like, I fail, I learn, you just play the game.
Yeah.
You actually admit that you're addicted at the game, Athena? You said you're addicted. You think that's a big reason why you got good?
Well, I don't think I'm addicted anymore, but when I was younger, when I first got introduced to the game, obviously that was when I was entering high school, so I didn't know a lot of people, so I ended up spending most of my time online. And when I spent most of my time online, I became addicted, and I spent most of my time playing League of Legends. But like, I can kind of say I'm not addicted now because when I was younger, I actually had mood swings due to not playing League, and that is a really serious
addiction. Yeah, we talked about addiction on the podcast before. It's like symptoms, like withdrawal symptoms and stuff like that. Yeah,
I would get terrible mood swings. I would be depressed, but I feel like after getting to a certain rank, I think it was maybe like Diamond or Masters, I just try to spend most of my time having fun. Obviously, people are like, "Oh, Athena, why don't you go pro? Why do you only play like the Enchanters, the e-girl supports?" And I'm like, because I find them fun, and I don't want to go pro. So if I think these champions are fun, why would I play other champions which I don't find fun when I'm playing the game casually?
All right, I wanna riff off this then, because, all right, would you guys agree that League, in a way, when you get very good at a champion, the champion gets more fun? As a rule of thumb, right? I find, like, let's just say you pick up a new champ. There's like a very brief period of time where it's fun because it's just like novelty. But then you get to like game 70, game 80, and you really start to get a lot of champion mastery, and you get very good at it. You notice all these intricacies in the kit, and then you start really knowing how to translate your lead. You know how to carry a game, that sort of thing. Would you guys agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the biggest controversial things is the fact that a lot of girls who climb play Enchanter supports, right? They play like Myumi and Sona and Nami and stuff like that. Now, why do you guys think this is the case?
Why do they gravitate towards these champs?
Okay, but 1 second, before you guys answer, to give a little bit of direction, do you think that it's a combination of you got introduced to the game through this lens, and then you got good at it because it was the first champion you played, and then you just got experience and confidence, and it's like, I might as well continue, and then that's what made you enjoy the game? Or was it more that you just literally, no one had an influence over what you played, you just picked whatever, and then you just gravitated toward it naturally?
I've actually thought about this a lot. I'm like, why do all the girls play all the pretty, safe, very squishy champions, you know? Well, I think most girls from a very young age were introduced to the idea of things being commercially pretty. And obviously, if you see a trend in champion design for all the enchanters, they are all pretty, they're all female, you know, they
like cute.
Yeah,
it's like Gabi said with the Barbie dolls growing up, like that's what her parents would give her, right?
That's how, like, Riot, you know, how they always the meme of producing Lux skins and stuff. It's because they're commercially advertisable, you know. But I feel like this stems from like how girls grew up, like their values and morals. I feel like if you see a common trend in enchanters is that they're safe. They're squishy. They don't have to be in the front lines. They can sit in the back and protect people. I feel like girls don't have the competitive, like they don't have the ego and the aggressiveness unless you're like an outlier. You're like a tomboy. You have the same mindset as a guy. But most girls are more passive. They're more kind. You know, they don't want to be killing things on the roof. They like their skins. They like
You're describing everything as the opposite of what Gabi's doing on it.
Yeah, but Gabi is that outlier. Gabi is the outlier. That's why we have we brought two ends of the spectrum. You know, Gabi is the outlier and the tomboy. You know, and I'm just like the stereotypical, you know, e-girl.
Support. E-girl supports.
I'm the stereotypical e-girl.
So you think that champions in League of Legends, they sort of have like a identity as a champion as well? It's like, let's say if I'm playing Rek'Sai or like I'm a jungle or playing an assassin like Talon, that doesn't appeal to female players because the champion has a personality.
They have an aggressive play style, you know? And I feel like just most girls are more leaning towards passive, so they obviously stick to support. Or because females are always, if we bring up the historical books, females are always in like a supporting role of the male, like a domestic role of being the male's companion, and like they have to support them from the sidelines. So I feel like that stems.
It's like a cultural thing you're saying.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. Yeah.
Did you have any other thoughts to add to that, Gabi?
I have a lot. I actually think
Gabi.
like, even like when you go into anime, it's always like the male protagonist, and then the woman is like a mage support behind him. Like she doesn't really get involved in the drama, but she is healing him, she's protecting him, she's a support. She's never the one that gets to be the protagonist. So I think to do with picking up the game, if you tend to see a lot of women as well that are playing Sona, like, you tend to do it as well, because it's just like a role model for you. And the other thing is, when I started playing, my brother said to play Lux, because he thought I'd find her fun, because you're safe, you're like so far away, you deal a bunch of damage, because I still wanted to kill, like I wanted to kill people and I wanted to fight them. But even then I only played Lux and Ezreal. Like, I played really stereotypically female champs just because that's what seemed good to me. Like, if you show me like Braum or Ornn, I'm not interested. I'm just not.
And why is that?
Well, first of all, I hate melee champs. Like, I just hate them. I like having a distance, but I think it's just, they're just boring. They're just really
That's it.
boring.
You just think they're just boring champs.
Yeah,
Look,
and I'm playing a game to have fun.
Yeah, like I think that I would tend to agree. There has to be some form of like cultural or something like that going on. Exactly what you guys said. Now, what's interesting is that, for me anyway, in my experience, I believe this kind of ties into more the competitive aspect of the game. Okay, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. It's like you're encouraged or you're recommended to play Sona or Enchanters or champions with range, and the people around you or other girls that play are probably going to play them also. So there's that sort of peer pressure. And so everyone around you is telling you to do that. And then you get good at those champions, so then you're rewarded, and then you continue to play them.
You know, you don't want to just jump and start playing Talon, right? It's like, that doesn't make sense.
But what's interesting is that for me, in high school, I was actually talking to Nathan about this the other day. I have vivid memories about why I got into climbing ranked. And in NA, I had one friend in my school named Ben, and I remember we did the lockers when I think I was like 17, and we were talking about like, oh, I'm stuck at 1600 elo, and he's stuck at 1500, and we're like talking about this. And I wanted to be better to get to platinum before him. I wanted to beat him. I didn't really care about beating anyone else. I just wanted to be better than my friend at the time. I wanted to be the best in my area out of everyone I knew. And that's why those, if you went to LANs at, you probably guys had LANs at FBI and things like that in Sydney and things like that. But in Melbourne, we have our own LANs. That's what motivated me. Now, what's interesting is that if you go to school, not many girls tend to play games, whatever reason that is. And, you know, that's probably a very complex issue. Kind of touching on things you spoke about, like whether that's your upbringing, your parents don't want you to play it and things like that. But what happens, you're missing a whole form of motivation to get better at the game. You're missing a whole form of desire. There's no, I want to get better than this person, my friend. Because when you go to school, I would talk to that guy every morning and be like, oh, what elo, you know, what did you get? How many games did you win last night? We'll talk about that. That didn't exist. So do you feel like there's a lack, because you guys had a lack of other friends growing up in school or even in university, other female friends who were also really into the game, that kind of prevented you from experimenting? Because for me, if I'm stuck, I'm going to figure out any way possible, whether it's playing new champions, getting uncomfortable, to get better than this guy. Do you feel like that had an influence on you guys, or was that something that's relevant?
Kitty?
I'll go first. So I actually went to an all-girls high school. So I literally, when I was in year 7, which is like first year into high school, I literally knew no one who played League. This was when I was like addicted to League, right? And obviously I focused more on the people that I spent time with online, and I ended up idolizing some like high ranked females, like Kimmy, if you guys know who she is. She was a Challenger ADC player in Season 6 in OC, so I really looked up to her. I ended up getting to know her, and obviously she was what inspired me into climbing. I wanted to, like, you know, maybe peak her peak. I wanted to get better than her. Every time I hit a new LP peak, it's because I have someone in mind, and I just try to, like Curtis said, overcome their overpeak their peak. So yeah.
I did have people, they weren't girls, but like I did have people that I were actively trying to beat. Like both my brothers, because they both played. One of them peaked D1 and the other one peaked rank 1 early season. So I wanted to beat them. And then they stopped playing. So I just stayed in Diamond. But then when I met my boyfriend and he was also high elo, I wanted to be good enough to beat him. So there was still like drives for me. But in school, I did talk to like guys that played League at school because I went to a mixed public school. But my friends, none of my close friends played. None of them played any games. But so I couldn't really talk to them about it. So it was more online friends as well. But I didn't have any close female friends that played at all. So I don't really have that perspective. But my friends did make me a cake.
Well, they made you a cake.
They made me a cake when I hit Diamond the first time.
That's awesome. That's so
cute.
cool.
Where's my diamond cake, man? What the hell?
Oh, it's actually really good. You missed out.
What's super interesting, Gabi. So I'm trying to pull trends here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on because look, I know Kimmy quite well, and Kimmy, her brother was a pro Dota player, right? One of the best Dota players in the world, and he went to TI and everything, QO, right? And so, for her story, from a very young age, she always played games with her older brother. Her older brother was not only like a normal gamer, an incredibly naturally talented gamer, probably one of the best gamers I've ever seen. And so that I can, and Kimmy, which was interesting, she was unique in the sense that she didn't play anything like that. She played, Vayne. She played traditional 80 carries. She didn't play any of those sorts of champions, and she was very good mechanically. Better, I would say, on par mechanically at the time than a lot of others. Now, that's very similar to you, Gabi, in the sense that you had an older brother, two older brothers that also played the game and were pretty, I would say, very good at the game as well. So you had that competitive drive. Now, what's interesting here, I mean, this is a very small sample size, but Gabi and Kimmy, I would say, are very similar in the way you approach the game mentally and the way you approach the game just playing with you guys. It's very, I get the same vibe. There's that aggressiveness, there's that search. And this is not to say there's a difference micro-wise, but Kitty's experience, you had people you looked up to, but you didn't have that close-knit group around you. You didn't have an older brother, you didn't have a friendship group around you to push you. You were kind of on your own largely, like by yourself, trying to find ways to improve. So, what's interesting?
Something? Well, halfway during my rank journey, when I was plat, I actually met Katsuri, who's playing for CLG right now, and he was a season 4 challenger. I don't remember, but he was challenger somewhere before and he has returned to the game after a year break. And obviously, I started playing with him, and he was obviously probably 10 times better than me, like in terms of brain and hands, just way better than me. And I felt like one of the main drives that made me want to get good and climb was to just keep up with him and his friend group, because he was friends with all the high elo people, and I wanted to like fit in, you know. So I tried my best to probably keep up with him and his friends. I think that was a big part of why I climbed to this rank.
So both of you,
Nathan.
Yeah. So I mean,
because I think
to sum it up, it's like we had both Gabi and Athena had people around them that were to push them. You know, at the end of the day, Gabi and Athena didn't just play, you know, sit in their room and just play League just because, you know.
To some extent, yes.
To some extent,
but that's my point. But that's my point here, is that I think that one of the reasons we don't see as many high elo is that Athena and Gabi here are largely probably outlier cases.
There's just probably not enough of Gabi and Athena's out there, right? With people like high elo players and stuff like that around them.
Or Athena happened to meet Katsuri at a very, at a relatively young time as she was really getting into ranked. Conversely, Gabi had two older brothers. So both of them had people around them that they had motivation to climb. But this isn't, that's much rarer. Just because, again, your friendship group a lot of the time, especially if you're in Athena's situation where you go to an all-girls school, the chances you're going to meet another bunch of people that play the game around you that want to actually get good, it's just like, what are the chances? So we'll put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. Nathan, was there another? What was the next area we wanted to?
I mean, we got a lot of stuff to go over. So the next thing that I want to bring up here. So the most interesting thing about when we talk about this topic about females in League of Legends esports gaming versus traditional sports. Obviously, in traditional sports, males dominate the very physical sports. You know, like in AFL in terms of Australia, NFL. I mean, at the end of the day, a female can't compete with an NFL player. You know, it's really, really big, you know, just at the end of the day, there's genetic differences between us, right? So what I actually did some research on was what different skill sets do we possess as males and females? And, you know, exploring the potential genetic differences, like are men just better at hand-eye coordination? Maybe females are better at, you know, spatial awareness, or maybe having like more of that supportive mindset, like as Athena said. So doing some research on sports, there's many sports where men are better than women, both on average and at the elite levels, but there are only a small number of sports where women are equal to or better than men. These are sports like horse riding, rifle shooting, and continuous ultra long distance running and swimming for multiple days with no breaks, where strength, speed, and power are not that important. So, like, these are all, if you looked at that list there, you know, these aren't really physical sports, are they? I mean, I guess the swimming one, that's more of an endurance thing, right? It's not just like sheer, just short-term strength. So there's a study by this person called Verma. I don't know if it was a he or a she. But there was a study that they did, and according to the study, there was greater connectivity within hemispheres would make men better at performing single and focused tasks, while women's connections between hemispheres would make them better at analysis, reasoning, and multitasking. The notion is supported by a previous study performed on a group of 3,500 people ages 8 to 21, which included the 949 individuals used in Verma's study that I just mentioned before. It found that women perform better at attention, word, and facial memory and social tasks. Men, on the other hand, perform better at spatial processing and hand-eye coordination tasks. Interestingly, the differences were largest in kids, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm getting at there, is there a different skill, like, again, the physical aspect doesn't really exist in League, or does it? Or is hand-eye coordination, you know, mouse movement, is that really big in your guys' eyes? Like, do you see potentially things that may be holding you guys back from getting rank 1 in terms of this stuff?
Well, I think for me, speaking for me and Gabi, I think we just don't have the commitment for the game to hit rank 1. Like a lot of other League players who happen to be male, they just have the commitment because obviously if you want to stand out in the pro scene, in the esports scene, you have to hit rank 1, or else you're just the same as every other League player, because gender does not matter in esports because it's all male, right?
Well, I mean, there's no rules in esports saying females can't play in the LCS or the LEC, right? There's no rules. Theoretically, they can.
They can, but at the current time, there are no female players, and the only way for you to stand out from all the other, as a male player, to stand out from all the other male contestants is to be extremely good at the game.
Which is high in solo queue. You have to be like rank 1, top 10.
You just have to be one of the best, or else you won't get recognized. So I feel like for guys, they have a higher at the moment, they have a requirement to hit this extreme mechanical skill to prove themselves to other like if they want to go international, they have to prove themselves to other regions to say that they're good enough to fit into that region. But yeah.
Did you have any thoughts on that, Gabi?
I think Athena's right in that I think, like, growing up, considering girls don't really play many games in general, no one's really going to put professional gamer in like their top 3 careers. You know, no one's going to be encouraged either, especially even with your friends, to be like, yeah, go get rank 1, like, yeah, go to America, go play internationally. Like, no one really says that to you, and I feel like a lot of that drive has to come from yourself. But for women, I feel like it's just not that high on priorities. So
it's not. I was just gonna say, you guys don't believe it's like, like a mental block in the sense that, oh, you know, there's no line of thought saying I'm a female, so there's a difference here that I can't reach that level of mechanical ability. It's just the fact that you just haven't put enough time into the game.
I don't necessarily think it's about ability. I think it's more just about the lifestyle of a professional gamer. Like what woman that's like 18 wants to live with 4 18-year-old boys?
And
like,
that's what would be the route, right? Because you would be the only female theoretically. And so you're thinking it's like, even if I become a pro player, it's like, you know, I guess in terms of Athena's perspective, being a streamer is, even if you were that good to be, if you're a rank 1, you know, female player, why would you not just be take a more relaxing route and be a streamer, right?
Like, yeah, I don't want to live with 4 sweaty 18-year-old boys. You know, like they probably don't even clean the toilet. Like, I feel like I just wouldn't enjoy that. It just wouldn't be nice. You'd have to really want to be like the best, but even so, you've got so many barriers anyway.
So it's like there's so many challenges. Even if I tried, there's so many challenges for me to get over. It's just not even worth it. That's the mindset.
Plus, I reckon, considering how socially stunted a lot of pros are, they'll probably all get a crush on you, and then you've got to deal with that as well. So I just feel like for managers, inevitable. That's a nightmare. So.
Well, okay, look, talking about the benefits quickly, if you were somehow, say some female prodigy or like was raised, it probably wouldn't be in our generation, it'd probably be the generation, if like we were to have kids, right? It'd be like that generation maybe, were to be motivated and pushed from an incredibly young age to the point where they could get rank 1 or close to rank 1. The benefit would be is like, you're kind of doing something that no one else has done before. And your fame would be through the roof. Even if you didn't even perform that well in the league. Like, maybe you come, like... Even if you're, like, a bottom 3 team. But
yeah,
even then, on top of that...
Why don't you just be a streamer? Just use that fame to just be a streamer. Why'd you want a team?
That is true.
Right?
That is true. The incentives are just not there at all. Like, they don't make... No. It doesn't make any sense.
Plus, like, just to touch on to that, it's like, I feel like even if you were to become a pro... I feel like women are just more harshly judged in general. Because not only are you the woman... the only pro player, you're also there's no one else for them to compare you to, so you'll just get judged. Like, you will get so much flame, not to mention God forbid if you're unattractive. Like, don't even get me started on the amount of Twitch comments you would get. I don't even want to think about it.
It actually makes me hurt thinking about it.
This is what I want to explore. What if we were to create this perfect, who didn't care they're getting judged, didn't care about being with 4 sweaty, you know, male guys that potentially were going to fall in a crush on them.
Well, these are things that you could fix. Like, there are ways around this.
Yeah. Right. So let's explore going down this route. Like, is it possible? Are they capable? That's why I mentioned that.
That's what I want to know. Is it just capable? Is it possible? Like, what? Because, like, look, when I play with both of you, I don't feel like, you know, there's just like a micro diff, or like there's something that like you're incapable of doing. It feels like for me, right, I am better now mechanically than I was when I was 18, by far, because I've literally tried to improve at it. I've actively gotten better at the game, and there's no reason in my mind, and even seeing Kimmy, and we've referenced Kimmy a few times, but just to clarify, Kimmy was the, I don't know if she got Challenger. Did she get Challenger?
She did, yeah.
So she was an 80 carry.
When the cutoff was still low, but you could still get Challenger with that low cutoff.
So even from watching her, there was no, in my mind, there was no mechanical boundaries. So like, they're incapable. Just because she's a female, she's magically just incapable of being good at the game. So this is what's like, I want to explore. Is it actually, what's holding them back? What is it? Why? And, in, like you said, Nathan, in a perfect world, the motivation's there. There's like, you get your own apartment as well. Like, you come to an office space, you live by yourself, so on and so forth. What would that look like?
Let's talk about chess, because chess is obviously not the it's a pure intellectual, right? And let's explore men and women in chess. So I got a lot of this from Thorin's video. He talked about women in esports about 2 years ago. So a lot of this is referenced from his video. So there was a study. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this study, Athena and Gabi, if you guys have similar experiences. There's a study at the University of Padua in Italy, which matched 42 expert female chess players with similarly ranked male opponents online. When the women didn't know who they were playing against, or told when playing versus another woman, it was actually a man, they performed as expected. When they were told they were specifically playing against a male, they played dramatically worse. What do you guys think about that? Have you guys had experience with that?
Well, I've actually had that has actually impacted my solo queue experience. The nameplate, the dreaded nameplate of a player. So back in the days, King and Destiny, who are both in America now, they used to dominate OC solo queue. And I, the poor casual League of Legends player, had to lane against two 1k LP bot lane players who are professional. And obviously, this isn't just like because I'm female. I think this is just as a person coming from a casual perspective, like who sees the game in a casual hobby type of game. But I feel like the nameplate creates so much anxiety, or like just knowing who you're versing against. If just even if they're a bit better than you, that anxiety.
You feel like you play worse. You play worse.
The anxiety really hits you, and you start like shitting the bed. So I feel like if we live in a world where nameplates and we were all just like numbers, I feel like the skill, in terms of skill, females would be a lot closer. Without and like let's say like no chatting, no interaction, just nameplates, just gameplay. I feel like females would be a lot closer in terms of skill and in terms of like ranking.
Any thoughts on that, Gabi?
I think also, I don't know if this is for you as well, Athena, but for me, when I'd verse the dreaded King Destiny duo, it's sort of I was okay with versing them, but when I versed other players, and they knew that I was a girl, I felt like there was more pressure on me to perform. I just felt like I had to really prove myself and to not get flamed and to really outperform. Even when people are streaming, it's like I want to show that I can be good. So I've always found that really difficult, and sometimes the pressure just sort of gets to you, whether you're versing pro players or whether you're just versing people that are streaming. You just want to show that you can still be good, but sometimes you shit the bed. Like it all gets to you, all the pressure. So I understand why they would perform worse, because you tend to get nervous, especially in that really highly competitive environment. Like it's very anxiety inducing.
So here's the best chess player, female chess player of all time. Her name's Judith Polgar. She's a Hungarian chess player, strongest female chess player in history, born in 1976. 1991 got Grandmaster at 15 years old, which was at the time was the youngest to do so, breaking the record of Bobby Fischer, who's one of the greatest chess players of all time. Only woman to qualify for a World Championship tournament in 2005. The first and only woman to pass the 2700 ELO rating. Career peak at 2,735. Only woman to have won a single game versus a reigning #1 world player, and has defeated current or former world championships in rapid or classical chess. Most notably beaten Magnus Carlsen in one of these game modes. When she was 12, she was asked about playing versus boys in chess. She said, quote, "These other girls are not serious about chess. I practice 6 hours a day, but they get distracted by cooking and working around the house." That was her own words about, what her other female chess counterparts are like. Currently, there is 37 of the 600 international chess grandmasters are women, so about 2%. The current top-rated female, Hui Yifang, is ranked 89th in the world. Any thoughts on that, Gabi, Athena?
I don't know who's going.
Oh, you can go.
Is this similar to League? Saying that girls they're just distracted. Like, I mean, you sort of hinted at the beginning, right? That was sort of what your experience was like growing up.
Yeah,
just hold back women.
It's sort of like, is the fault with the woman, or is the fault with the fact that she gets told what her priorities are? So I think it's not like personal. I think it's more about your environment where you're raised. Like, you don't get encouraged to be competitive. Not really. So I see Coach Curtis nodding.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, go on. Athena?
Well, I actually have a personal experience with how Nathan was saying how that pro chess player was saying that girls were being reminded to do kitchen work and do housework, like do the stereotypical female role duties. I actually had a conversation with my dad about potentially going pro. You know, because I've been averaging pretty high LP for the past 3 years. If I wanted to go pro in OC, I could, because a lot of the good players have left. I could potentially become like an average or like decent player in the pro scene. But my dad strongly discouraged me from entering the pro scene. And that's because he has a very traditional perspective of how a female's life should be played out. They think that uni is obviously getting a uni degree. Most pro players, they don't finish uni, or they don't even start uni, because being a professional player is such a limited career path for them. Like, it's age limited, you know. Once you get past 25, you're like basically 80 years old in the esports scene. And then my dad was saying how, oh, you know, if you pass this age, not getting a uni, like a piece of paper, like a degree, then you won't find a job in the future. Like, this playing pro is all fun and games, but you have to focus on what's important in life, which is getting a uni degree and getting the 9-to-5 job. So I feel like a lot of parents is like still stuck. Oh, this generation, I feel like.
Well,
parents,
that's not just for females, right? That'll be also the same
yeah.
pressures at males, right?
Yeah. But I feel like I don't know about Gabi, but when I was growing up, and still to this point, I spent a lot of time on League, right? Like, more than the average casual player. I spent a lot of time on League, and my dad's like, "Oh, this lifestyle is so unhealthy. As a girl, you should be going out and like, you should be presenting yourself in a like good." This takes my dad. Yeah, like as
I'm sure he's a great guy, Athena. Don't worry. I'm sure he's a great. He's just looking out for his daughter, you know.
Yeah, but he's saying how females should be more. They shouldn't be this addicted to. Well, not addicted, but they shouldn't waste their life on video games, because obviously your teenage years and your young adult life passes so quickly. And he just finds spending all your time on a dream, which is perhaps entering the esports scene, is gonna make you regret in the future. And that's why I've been strongly discouraged from entering the pro scene. He doesn't want me to regret, because obviously, like Gabi said, if you don't perform well in the esports scene, you will get judged, and those judgments could potentially hurt you, either mentally or like in your reputation. And obviously, I said if I wanted to join a team, I could join like an average team. But if under a certain circumstance, what if my team does bad? Like, let's say we went like the infamous 0-20 like win-loss record. It would taint my name forever in the pro scene, obviously, because they're like, oh, you know, you're that person who went 0-20 in the pro scene. It's like you're just permanently bad. So I feel like a lot of players are just people who actually want to pursue something that's more than like 2 years in League. I feel like proving yourself like in skills allows you to join a better team, because obviously the better teams want better players, and a lot of the female players just aren't there yet in terms of skill and commitment. So there's at this current time, there's not gonna be likely a chance where a female joins a top tier team and represents that team in like an international competition, in my opinion.
All right, I want to, Nathan, I don't know if you have any more examples. We can come back to that, Nathan, but I want to kind of shift the conversation a bit around to okay, let's just say we had full creative control over League of Legends, right?
Because firstly, I just want to give some more examples around females in esports that have won things. So I don't know if you guys know Scarlett. Her name's Sasha Hoiston, only woman to win a major StarCraft 2 tournament, dominated world-class Koreans. In that tournament, Scarlett is the woman with the all-time highest tournament winnings to date, with almost 400,000 of lifetime winnings. So she's been at the top of StarCraft. Her name's Scarlett. Leeune, she was a world champ. She won the 2019 Hearthstone Global Finals, I believe. Apparently off a grueling process in terms of qualification through China, which the experts considered more challenging than small circuit. She was crowned the winner in November at BlizzCon and took up the opportunity to talk about issues of sexism and gender equality in the scene. So these are two female players that have reached the top in individual games, right? So this is Hearthstone and StarCraft. The only female player, to my knowledge, to have won something in a team, like playing with other males, was Hafu, who won a 3v3 World of Warcraft tournament all the way back in MLG Orlando 2008. So those are some statistics for you there. We've had teams, all female teams, like CLG Red, CSGO team, could barely get to the top of a of the CSGO scene. Dota 2 team, there was one called Team Secret. Obviously, we had the Sirens in League of Legends, who was 2014, obviously more of an infamous team. So if we really look at team sports, and again, this goes back to all the challenges, Gabby, you talk about as a fan, where you just don't want to be in a gaming house where, all playing with a bunch of, 4 other 18-year-old, 19-year-old, probably emotionally immature men. Or boys, that's what we should probably be calling them. So that's interesting that women have reached again. I mean, look at the study for chess as well. I mean, there's been no female chess world champion, but there has been champions in these individual games. What you guys have any thoughts on that, Athena, Gabby?
Talking about all those statistics actually reminded me of a tweet I saw earlier today. It was a female who hit rank 1 in Overwatch, and this was posted 20 hours ago. Her @ is Aspen_OW, and she actually hit rank 1 in Overwatch.
Wow. What region?
Fact. I think she's in America. She is currently looking for team. She doesn't have much, but I just know she made a post where she hit rank 1, and it was like 4.7k in the ladder, which I guess is the highest elo for that for the Overwatch ladder. So yeah, that was interesting.
All right, there we go. We've got our world champion. Problem solved, everyone.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Aspen, the person who made the tweet, is actually a support player as well. So that's really interesting.
Interesting. Well, okay, that kind of segues nicely into what I was going to say. So, like, what I was going to say was, okay, if we had full creative control over League, right? Riot, we're sitting around the boardroom right now. We could change. And let's just say this was even at the beginning of League. Let's just say this was, season 1, right? What would happen if all of these girl champions that were pretty and cute were actually all melee bruisers?
Like playing the mid lane and top lane and jungle, and all the supports
were male. What would happen? Because what I'm trying to figure out here is, what steps could Riot take now to potentially address this? So yeah, I want to take an extreme case, and I've got a few ideas. There's one of them. What's your take on this? How would this change? How would this have changed the future of League?
Well, I would have changed it. I wouldn't play them because I don't find that playstyle fun. So
just wouldn't have played League. It wouldn't have played League altogether, or you would have played melee, the male champions.
I would have played male champions. I wouldn't have played melee Bruiser supports. I've never played Panther support. I never will. I think if that happened, I'd probably play mages mid. Why can't they make like a very feminine, like long range jungler or something. Maybe that would be played a bit more.
Well, Lilia is.
I play Lilia.
Yeah, Lilia's awesome. Lilia's a really good champ design.
Yeah.
Okay, Athena.
Well, I play Braum. Braum is like my most played melee champion. I feel like I don't play enchanters because, well, obviously they're cute, you know, but I feel like my entire playstyle is just more suited to more the protective and disengaged support. Yeah, the disengaged supports, not just like the females, but yeah. I feel like if they introduced champions that were like also passive but male and their designs were like Braum, etc., like, you know, I would still approach them because.
Okay, interesting. Because let's look at this deeper. Then, what would have happened then if there would be a percentage of these female players who actually played these other roles. Then I would say a larger percentage of them that would have otherwise went to support role, maybe would have played top lane or mid or even jungle. Let's just say one of those roles, a solo role. Kind of what I'm getting at here, what I potentially think is that there is a skill set you develop, and there's a way of viewing the game. So, speaking from personal experience, when I was a pro mid laner, when I first started, I was a mage player. I was known for like a lot of my mages, and I got to a point where I was capped. Like at the time, I was versing Claire and Swiffer and all these players who played. There was like Zed and LeBlanc came into the meta and all the assassins. So I had to, because I had a very like you guys are saying, a very similar approach to the game. I loved being long range mage. I loved disengaging. I loved using my spells from a distance and not really committing. I hated playing assassins in all games. If I went to like Diablo, I always played a mage. I didn't play a warrior. I never played that style. But what happened was that I forced myself to play it. I got uncomfortable and I did it, and I learned Zed, and then I played Zed at a tournament, PAX or ABX or whatever, and I beat Claire, and it was a huge mental breakthrough for me. It was like, wow, I could do that, you know?
I can win with these champs.
I can win with these champions. And I now see the beauty, and I see the advantages to playing this style. When beforehand, I had a fixed mentality towards it. It's like, oh, you know, I love this. I'm comfortable. It works. I see the strengths. Screw playing melee champions. And a part of me thinks that if we were to introduce more of these champions to other roles, female, pretty, cute, I don't know how that would work in a champ design. Maybe like Panthers or some shit. I don't know. Or like demon fairies and stuff. I don't know. But you get the point. Where like be creative with champ design to at least incentivize or have more creative kits. Like Lilia, perfect example. Really awesome kit, female, but it's not necessarily like a fully supportive. It's more like a semi carry utility champion. This would actually unlock and create and have a flow on effect to opening the mind or opening the realm of possibilities for a lot more female players in the game. And I think if Riot were to have introduced this in Season 2 or Season 1, the future of what gaming in League specifically, either could have went two directions. One, females, a lot of women don't even play the game. It's like, oh, screw this, I don't resonate with any of these characters. I want to play a supportive style champion and they don't exist that are female. Conversely, they go down that path, they play those champions, they develop a new skill set, and it's like, oh wow, I just played Lilia, and I found that really fun. What are other champions that now are similar? And then you might like Nidalee, then you might like, oh shit, I might actually go a little bit further on that side and play like, what's an in-between between Nidalee, maybe something more carry-oriented, like a Shyvana or whatever it is, and then you go down that rabbit hole. What would you guys think about that, or am I just going nuts here?
I think a couple of thoughts on that is that for me, when I started playing Thresh and Bard, I got flamed and they would say, no, play Nami or play Lulu. They didn't want me to play more aggressive supports. So if for example, I've thought about going to jungle a lot, but if I wanted to, I think I would have to go on another account and like a completely anonymous account so that no one knows and no one can influence what I play. Because yeah, like the design could be nice, but the other thing is that a lot of people prefer that supportive, more non-committal play style. And as you said, you had to become uncomfortable, and that's what I had to do as well. But a lot of people play casually, so they don't really want to. So
right. So you don't think it would have made that much of a difference?
I mean, like, it's a nice idea, but I think it's more that a lot of women want to play casually, and no one really being pro is scary. That's a scary idea. So,
but look, to play devil's advocate, I play and try to get good at the game, but I'm not trying to go pro. And I recommend a lot of people try to get good at the game because I think it's an amazing hobby. I think it's really cool to push yourself and see what you're capable of.
Learn how to learn.
Learning how to learn and push yourself and getting uncomfortable. I think it's the most amazing personal development.
Helps you in all areas of life.
So look, you can still aim for Challenger or Grandmaster and not want to go pro. So like, I mean, look, I know where you're coming from, but I just, what I'm getting at here is I just feel like largely right now I'm trying to figure out creative solutions to even the playing field and to compensate for the bullshit cultural poison. I don't know a word, like there's like a poison that's like running through the female, like people's perception of a female playing the game, and I'm trying to come up with an anti, like a vaccine or some shit to how can we counterbalance this? What creative ways could we do this? And look, I don't know, changing the champion design, that might not be it. Maybe removing duo. That's the other one I had here, was removing duo. Would have removed duo ages ago. Because I know, Kitty, you duoed a lot with Rob or Katsuri. You could look at that two ways. I thought about this a lot with you, Kitty, is one was, I know Rob had a very positive effect on your level of play in the sense that he would have taught you a lot about the game because he took the game very seriously, was a very good at 80 carry from a young age, and you duoed with him a lot, so you got to learn and know what it was like. And I know he always used to tell me, he's like, I'm trying to get Kitty to play more melee champions because I hate playing with enchanters and stuff like that. He would tell me that because he says they're useless.
Just losing lane, just towers in one play.
He's like, I just want an Alistair on my team. But anyway, I know he had positive effects on you, but at the same time, again, playing devil's advocate, I think there's a toxicity to that. You're not being forced to get uncomfortable. You're hacking. In a way, you're cheating the uncomfortability factor. In a way, I'm not saying you're not fully not comfortable, but you have Rob there that guiding your learning process. But if you were alone and there was no duo ever from the beginning of time, and you could only either play normals or there was solo queue, would that have had an effect, a positive effect on your ability to climb in solo queue, knowing that it's all on you, and that you had to get uncomfortable to figure it out?
Okay, so for me, and for a lot of casual players, duo queue was actually the main reason why we wanted to climb, because you spend time with your friends, you know? So maybe if you get rid of duo queue, then like you wouldn't even want to play ranked anymore, because you can't spend time with your friends. Because I know people play solo queue for like 6 hours plus, you know? You don't want to... I know now it gets very lonely, because obviously they removed duo challenger grandmaster, what was it, masters and above, I think.
Masters above,
yeah, they got rid of duoing masters and above, and a lot of my friends were saying how, oh, it's getting lonely, it's kind of boring, you know, it's not the same anymore. But I feel like if Curtis was saying, oh, they got rid of duoing as a whole from the very beginning of the game, League of Legends would actually lose a lot of their players from just how...
You saying specifically female players as well?
Or just
no,
all,
I'm just saying in
all
like
players,
a general way, but they would lose a lot of their player base because they can't interact with their friends, you know. League is a team-based game. If you want to play with your friends, you could either play with 1, which is ranked, or you could play with 5, which is in your normal game, you know.
Fascinating, interesting. So you think that one of the reasons you are able to get Challenger now solo is because you duoed and had that motivation to play through duo queue?
Yeah, because, you know, I would finish high school. I would like finish school. I would go home. I would play League with my friends and I would go to sleep, you know? I would spend time with my friends, which was playing solo queue. It doesn't matter if like who I was playing with, as long as I like got to enjoy the same game as them, it made me want to play more. Which is where like the continuation of like keep on dueling comes from, you know? You just keep on you just want to keep climbing with this person and it gives you the motivation to climb.
Okay, I'll just go back and forth on this one because I'm passionate about this one. I've never met a single player who's actually been better because they duoed. Never. And the reason being is I think duoing makes players worse because even specifically just we're not even, let's just say it wasn't because you knew the person. Let's just say you just picked someone randomly off your friends list and you duoed. And there was no friendship factor. But like you calmed and everything like that. The reason I think people play worse is because there is a factor of you're having to process less information. You have someone on your team, like you said, that's one of the things about in solo queue. You said one of the ways to climb solo queues, you know everyone in the community, and like if you're someone on your team, you get on Discord and you comm in Discord, right? That's something you can do. I don't do that ever, even if I get asked to do that, because I think it makes people worse. With the reason being is like if someone says to me, say I'm playing mid, and then my support says, "Look, we're heavy trading bot, like we need help," or my top laner says, "XYZ information top." This is taking me away from processing the information that I should have been processing myself. I don't need to worry about support roams because Kitty in bot lane is telling me that, you know, Bard's roaming, you know, Gabi's roaming mid to kill me. But if I was solo, I'm going to get punished for that roam. I'm going to miss that. And I'm going to die. Then I'm going to get into my review and be able to improve that skill set. I'm getting compensated by you, Kitty, by you telling me that Gabi's missing. She's going to roam mid. Same thing for bot lane. Your duo bot, your AD carry is actually probably not getting as good at the game because you're able to track the jungler for them. And playing devil's advocate here, do you think that, yes, there's a motivation factor or a fun factor, but do you think that that fun factor outweighs, or the motivation factor outweighs the benefits you would get from playing solo? Because I can see there's benefits for both. But in your experience, now that you solo queued right now, you've solo queued from now Master 0 LP to you got to 500 and something LP Challenger. The level you've had to play now to get to the rank you're at and the current level of play you're at right now, what's the difference?
Well, what you were saying, I actually agree to what you were saying. Playing with a duo makes the game... obviously, you choose a reliable person that you can comm with. So they end up... you end up just focusing more on yourself instead of focusing around the map, which is League of like you have to have good map awareness for League of Legends. You have to think ahead of time to be good at League of Legends. But if someone keeps feeding you all this information, you obviously get like a you just like
overload, information overload.
No, not an overload, but like you get like an easy way out into the game, right? You don't like your brain isn't processing as many things as you should be if you're playing solo and no one was talking to you. So I actually see a big difference in me playing duo and me playing solo in the terms of how much I'm thinking. When I play solo, I'm more demanding. I'm more like I focus on timers more. I focus on like objectives more. I play the map more aggressively. But if someone is in comms with you and they were telling you about like what they were gonna do, you don't worry about it. You're just like, yeah, go for it, man. Like I'll just be chilling here. When usually you'll be like, oh my god, what's my jungler thinking? But if the jungler's telling you, oh, you know, I'm gonna plan on doing this, and this, and they're like, oh, cool, man. Like I don't have to worry about all that stuff that I should be worrying about if I was playing solo. So I feel like playing solo, yes, you get better as a player, but I think the main factor in the fun that comes out of League is ultimately winning the game. The most fun you get out of the game is obviously winning the game.
Mm.
So it depends on which one you value more. It's like, do you value like friendship more, or do you value your mechanical improvement more? You know?
Right. Also, so we're basically agreeing with the same thing then.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. But that's interesting though. But what's interesting, and just to summarize this one up, is that's what I'm saying. What would happen if we were to go back in time and duo was never a thing in solo queue? How much better would you be? But then at the same time, then you're saying you may not have even played that much ranked at the same time. I don't know. Because it just so happens that a lot, and this is again maybe a stereotype or a generalization, but a lot of girls do duo. What the hell is that sound?
Again, it's the whole support ADC thing.
Yeah. They just happen to duo.
So
I think that's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. It's like, you know, I've got introduced to the game, play Lux, just so happens to be a supportive character which goes in bot lane. Bot lane is better when you're duo. Great, let's duo all the time. I don't have to be as independent. I can kind of, you know, focus. I mean, I can have an easier ride in a way. Not to say you don't have to improve. You definitely have to be good. You can't just get randomly carried to like challenger. You still have to be a very good support player. But I think it's self-fulfilling prophecies. You're actually kind of hurting yourself at the same time while doing it. So I don't know. That's just my take on it anyway.
Do you have much experience, Gabi, with duo queue? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was about to say I'm kind of similar to Kitty in a way in that I actually never ever duoed until I started dating my boyfriend, and then we duoed probably for about a year. But I improved so much because I met him, I was playing on autopilot, I didn't really actively think about the game. And then through playing with him, he's actually a mid player, but he played AD with me to sort of show me more the perspective of what the AD wants from a support. Because I never played AD, I never thought about what my AD particularly wanted. I just thought about what I wanted to do as a support. But like he taught me more about how to like micromanage the game, how to ping, what to expect, and how to like think ahead in the game for what every player wants for their win. But now that I'm not duoing, I haven't duoed since, and I find that when I did play duo, I felt like I wasn't thinking for myself as much because he thought for me as well. So he would be like, our jungler wants to do this, so you have to go with him, or you know, their jungler's doing this, so you need to go and do this. But that at the same time, that taught me more about what I need to do when I'm solo. But I did heavily improve from that bit of duo queue, but now I've just decided I don't like duo queue anyway, so I don't really like talking to people. So
you like being on comms, Gabi?
Oh god, no. I don't know. I think
I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm the same as well.
Plus, and then it's awkward if people let you down or if you let them down, and then it's just awkward. But I think, like, back to what Kitty said, is that the appeal of duo queue is that you play with friends. But if your friends aren't good enough, then you don't want to play with them. So that's a bit more awkward, whereas both Kitty and I had people that were good that we wanted to duo with that helped us. But I don't know how it would be like if, like, you were better than someone that wanted to duo with you. I don't know. That would probably just hurt you more, or maybe you'd help them improve. I'm not really sure. But the idea of removing duo queue is pretty... I like it. I'm sick of the pro duos.
If you're playing with someone that's worse than you, you're never gonna improve. I mean, at the end of the day, you're crutching yourself, right? So all right, so I think that's the duo queue topic. Curtis, did you have anything else on that?
I just want to no, that was where I'm at. You can riff on from that, Nathan.
So I guess like sort of come into the end here. In conclusion, going back to the original question, can there be a female world champion? Obviously, we talked about a lot of potential challenges, socially, culturally. We've gone over some examples of some female players that have accomplished things in esports. We have talked about the most similar thing you could maybe talk to about League of Legends, like it's more of like an intellectual game rather than like a physical game in terms of chess versus League of Legends. I'm just going to pose a question straight up. Athena, Gabi, can there be a world champion in League of Legends, a female player? It doesn't. We don't have to do a timeline here. Let's say in 50 years, 100 years, even let's say League survives forever. You think there will be, Gabi?
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like at the same time, there are still so many other variables in it. Like for example, if there were to be one, it would probably be from like Europe or from Korea. But then you've got to look into their cultures and what's discouraging women in the first place. But in terms of like mechanics, and in terms of drive, if they have both of those, then absolutely, it's just whether it's worth it. I think that's how I.
And when you say worth it, what do you mean? You mean fulfilling in terms of yourself, your achievements, money wise?
I think more like, is it practical for you? Like for a lot of these people, they go into it straight from high school, like they haven't had to do much yet. You know what I mean? Whereas for me, I was raised go to uni, go to uni, get a job. No one said go be a pro player. So I feel like if they have the proper environment, it can happen.
Athena?
Yeah, I agree with Gabi. I feel like if obviously the environment you grow up in is very important. I feel like if you're surrounded by people who understand that the esports scene, which in this day and age, maybe still half the parents they still have a more traditional mindset. But once, let's say the Gen Z people become parents and they have a thorough understanding of the esports scene, and they raise a kid who has been encouraged to play, or like a female that has been encouraged to play games and encouraged to enter the pro scene, I think in the future, it is possible.
So you're saying the environment they grow up in is very important. Like they would have to be encouraged and potentially even coached.
Yeah.
From a young age. There's some great examples here in terms of women that have changed the game in terms of UFC specifically. Ronda Rousey. I don't know if you guys know much about her. She was born and bred to be an athlete, a world champion. Her mother was a judo champion in 1984. Ronda Rousey started judo at the age of 11, was trained by her mother, won an Olympic gold medal in judo, and then went on to UFC to dominate the sport in terms of her weight division in female, and literally brought so much attention to the game and literally broke. I think she was the one that really pushed for a female section of UFC, because UFC was originally only for males. So she literally introduced the whole female section to UFC, was a big part of that. So another example there, Serena Williams. Obviously, these are two sports that have segregated in terms of female only competition and then obviously male only competition in terms of tennis. Serena Williams, coached by her parents. She had an older sister that she trained up with. And she said they got better from each other. She said in a quote in an interview, "I don't want to mess up because I would ruin her sister's practice." So that was her motivation. Many gold medals between them, won many majors. Obviously, Serena Williams, obviously great. But both of these examples here that have been the best, greatest female players of all time, were started and coached at a very young age. Essentially born and bred by their parents to be, you guys are just going to be the best at the sport. And that probably hasn't existed yet for esports, has it? There's probably not been a single one. Yeah.
Look, I'm going to be...
Yeah?
Oh, sorry, go on. You guys, sorry.
Oh, well, I was saying how esports is literally the newest career path for a lot of young people. So obviously a lot of parents don't understand how esports works yet. So yeah, in the future, when people get more educated on how esports is a legitimate way of earning money, I think it'll be more accepted to be, they'll be pushed more into that type of career.
I'm going to be really... I'm usually very optimistic. This is just my take on it. It's going to sound very negative. You're
always negative on the podcast. You're the negative guy. I'm the positive guy.
I am very negative. In the next 50 to 100 years, there will never be a pro... Not even world champion. I'm saying even just go pro. Base level pro in League in a major region. That's my take.
Explain, Curtis. Explain yourself.
All right. I mean, this is just solidified this conversation today because look, let's just break this. Just super simple. Okay, boom. First one, even if maybe, you know, Kitty and Rob, they have a kid 10 years down the line, they put all that time and energy into like the kid getting really good at the game, and like they introduce gaming at a very young age, they shove him in front of a computer and play the game, whatever, and they bring about a really healthy environment. Yes, I believe that girl would be very good, could get very good at the game. But I'm talking about League of Legends specifically here. If we're talking a solo game, you were referencing sports before, you were looking at StarCraft, Hearthstone, what was the other? And to be honest, any solo game, I think that it's possible. But League of Legends specifically, in a major region, even if that person were to get very good, because we know...
So we say rank 1 on the ladder, rank 1 on the solo queue ladder.
I think they could even, get very high rank challenger. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't get rank 1. I think that is even possible. But, okay, yeah, I do think that is possible. But even if they were to be that good, like to get rank 1, I don't think that teams, orgs would want that burden. I don't think they would actually sign them up without them being a publicity stunt. The sad reality.
What's the burden?
The sad reality, because the complications, the sad reality is that the League community sucks ass. I hate the League community at the end of the day. Currently, I mean, this is why I'm an outlier. This is why I do my thing, and I don't stream on Twitch. I don't associate with the esports industry anymore. I don't talk to anyone in solo queue. I'm a lone wolf because I hate the League community. I hate the League Reddit. I do my own thing, and because I have zero faith in the direction of the League community. I think it's immature. The role models are terrible. You got like people like LS and stuff at the helm. There is no positive direction, and what's going to happen is that even if a girl were to get that good, because of how toxic the League community is, that girl will be so like targeted. She'll get targeted in solo queue. She'll get bullied on social media. She will get and they know that if she were to play in the league, teams would target her because they would view her as a weak link and like, let's just target her even if our strategy doesn't even make sense. Let's bully her. Let's make her lose, because then she will lose her confidence because she's going to get targeted from the public. It will be an absolute travesty. Not even because she's bad, it's just because she's just going to get targeted. And I don't think an org will take on that risk. That's why I just don't think they will. And it's sad. Really said it. Yeah, it's sad. It's so sad. And I think like it's not even the fact that they're incapable of getting that good. It's just it's so sad where the League community, I don't have faith that they're going to be able to condone that. And look, there's that part of it. But then think about this. Using, let's call Athena and Rob. Sorry, Athena, I'm kind of shoving you under the bus here. But let's just say little Bobby, little Bobby, I mean, no, not Bobby, create a name here, Katarina, goes to school. The chances that she's going to have a lot of external motivators deterring her from not going down that route. Her friendship group, her teachers, the list goes on. And like Gabi said, if she's not attractive, she's probably going to be insecure and get like screwed up. Like she will just get like so mentally bullied. It'll be terrible to see. And if she is attractive, let's say if she is attractive, it's even worse. If she is attractive, she's going to have like 1 trillion guys hit on her. She's going to have to be like an iron wall defense 24/7. And to be honest, if she's attractive, she's going to be so pulled away from playing games because she's getting invited to parties 24/7. She's going to get asked out by all these like hot guys at school, unfortunately. I just don't see it. And it sounds brutal, but I just don't see it.
So again, it's like, what happens if let's say, using the example as the parents here, Athena and Katsu Rob, you just peaked out on mental resilience, mental strength, in terms of like, this is what you're going to be like growing up. This is what it's going to be like. And the parents just keep, at the end of the day, parents probably have the most influence on kids growing up, 100%. Right? What happens if you instill that in an early age, then understanding this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to be, this is how it's going to be, and then nothing phases that female, that woman play.
What's interesting, Nathan, is that I read a tweet, and I totally agree with this. It says parents control the environment. If you're a kid, parents control your environment for the first like 12 years or something, like 10, 12 years. And then your friends control your environment, and then your colleagues and stuff like that, and your partner control your environment. So it's like segmented. Yes, the parents will largely control your environment and the way you view the world for the first 12, 15 years. But then your friendship group and society, environmental, and we know how weak mentally people are brought up nowadays. Like, you're just fucked because you're just social media and just like, you know, the chances of Katarina, using this little child's name, being that mentally tough, even if Athena and Rob are like the greatest parents of all time, like the goats of like developing mental resilience, Katarina's gonna get like brought down and shoved in the gutter as soon as she gets into high school. I can't see it.
Yeah, but that first 15 years is the most important. Would you agree? That's more important than those others. So again, what happens if you instill it there, and then that just influences the rest of her life to become a world champion League of Legends?
Well, but that's step number one. We've got to remember how hard it is to even get that good at League.
Yes.
And especially by the time we're talking 50 years from now, League is going to be there. Being good at the game will be a viable career path by then. And it's going to be like incredibly, incredibly difficult. Already
so
now.
She's going to have to compete against all these male players getting coached by their parents from a young age.
Let's look at the odds. Let's just look at the raw numbers. Statistically speaking, it's harder to be a pro league player in NA than it is to be like an actual athlete in like NFL, American football, or like NBA. It's ridiculous. The numbers don't make sense. It's so hard to go pro. Okay, now look at the percentage of the amount of these that are male and female. All right, so let's just look at the percentage. Then on top of that, once you've got that, being a female, not only is it already impossible, well, I'm not saying impossible, it's very, very hard, just baseline, there's all the added difficulties for being a female on top of that. That's why I just think just run the numbers in only a 50-year period of time, 100-year period of time. There's just no way. I don't think it's even close, actually. That's that again. I'd love to get your guys' take on that as well.
So if hypothetically the culture was fixed, you think it was possible?
Yes. Yeah. I think that if the League community made a drastic turnaround and became a very healthy environment and community over the next 50 years, then sure.
Okay, but that's basically how I feel. Yeah, that's basically how I feel as well. But it's sort of like the problem isn't just with the League community, though, as we know. Like, it's in every gaming community. So
it's the internet. That's just the internet.
Yeah, I know. There, right? So it's like, I don't know as well if it could happen in a 50-year period of time. I just feel like at the moment, the risk of doing it is just too high. And yeah, just the amount of flack that you will get simply just for being the first one to do it would just be unimaginable.
Look, I totally, you're spot on. And the other thing, this is kind of a spicy take, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this one. Yeah, but look, if we look at the majority of league streamers, specifically, Kitty, right? Female league streamers, it's a very small percentage of them that are watched purely for their skill, right? The whole, you know, like the sexual marketplace of Twitch TV, that's just, you know, it's like, you know, people a lot of the time just watch girl streamers because they got their tits hanging out and stuff like that, right? That's just the reality.
Sex sells.
Well, sex sells, right? And it's a great strategy. Now, it's a bonus if you're good at the game and you're attractive. You know, it's a 1+1. But at the same time, as a young girl growing up in this thing, I feel like this is even just going to get bigger and bigger. This industry of sex sells, especially within Twitch. I think like there's going to be another Twitch and there's going to be a new platform. You know, things will time. That's even going to be a bigger industry. So all the girls that are even pretty good at the game, they're not incentivized
to go down to the
you can make like a
streamer route.
look how much money half these girl streamers make on Twitch is ridiculous. You can make an insane career, but just sitting there playing games and just chilling.
You have to worry about the
Why would you
stress
do
of
that?
being a team environment. I mean, even for Mal, the stress of being a professional player is insane.
Yeah, even like that's like Pansar Dragon that you were telling me, Nathan, the rank 1 NA jungler.
Yeah.
He just turned into a content creator and a streamer because he got rank 1, didn't get picked up. Doesn't make sense for him to try and be a pro player when I can just make shitting on a bronze player content and get a lot of views and be a streamer. You know, so there's that aspect as well. I've gone pretty ham here. Sorry if I've taken over the show here.
That's right. This is okay. So have you listeners always said this is the Curtis show and Nathan just the guest?
No.
All right, I'll just get in here. Thoughts, Gabi, Athena, on anything Curtis said controversially?
Well, obviously, being a pro player is a lot more demanding on your lifestyle. You have a strict schedule. You'll probably be playing League 7 to 12 hours a day. It's very draining, and it's a competition. Obviously, losing will demoralize you very hard. So I feel like a lot of the content creators at this time and age, where they're like popular on Twitch, they chose that lifestyle because it's a lot more stress free. They get to do whatever content they want. They don't get judged if they like do bad in a lot of the pro players get judged heavily on how their record is in like the pro league scene, like how their team's performing, and either you get bashed or you get praised. But I feel like as a content creator, you can kind of build yourself a reputation or like an image.
You can control your brand. You have more control.
Yeah, control of your brand. Yeah, you have more control of your brand. People aren't affecting your brand like other teammates. Like, imagine if one of your teammates was like literally the worst player in the entire scene. You would obviously get shit for it. But like, as a content creator, you have more freedom in what you like to sell to the market.
It's all on you, 100%.
So you would say, Athena, you're more incentivized to do what you're doing now, be a streamer, rather than trying to go down the professional League of Legends route.
Just based on lifestyle.
Yeah, the lifestyle is very different, and I feel like just the amount of stress, not only from the amount of stress that other people give you and the amount of stress that you put on yourself. Like, imagine if you're having a bad day in solo queue. You can't just like stop playing for like 2 days or a week because it's your job. You have to play it. So sometimes people just they lose their they lose their motivation, which was what they wanted to thrive off in pro play anyway, in the first place. So I feel like yes, sex does sell, and I feel like in this day and age, streaming is just such a relatable and like very, I forgot the word. Oh no. People just, you know how YouTube is like the replay, like TikTok, you can replay stuff, like the amount that you can absorb from the internet. I think Twitch is just very at the top of their A game right now. So people are obviously moving more towards into the streaming industry than into the pro industry. And there's no there's no requirements of being a content creator. You don't have strict requirements. You don't have to be extremely good at the game. So I feel like a lot of females move into that department instead of becoming a pro player in the first place.
Do either of you know any female players that are actively trying to be a professional player?
Honestly, I don't know anyone at my level besides Kitty. I don't know a single player.
I know
in other regions.
I know in NA, there's this girl called Gamer Girl. She's like Katarina One Trick, and she finishes Challenger like every single season for the past 2 years, I think. And she doesn't play with a face cam. She rarely posts what she looks like. She only has a voice and her gameplay, and she racks in like 3K viewers every single day she streams. So I feel like, yes, girls can be like, people watch girls' content for their skill. So it's not like impossible, you know, like girls are good at the game. It's just not a lot of people, not a lot of girls are good at the game for people to attract people into their like gameplay, you know.
I feel like the other thing is that like if you're at that level where you have the potential to go pro if you really commit, like for men it's like a more lucrative but possible thing to do, and for women it's like why would they want to commit all that energy into something that no one else has shown them can be done, and into something that just looks like all the odds are against you, whereas as Kitty said, you can go into streaming. That's way like less stressful for you. You can make more money. It's just, I just feel like it's a better option, unless you have that really personal drive where you want to be the best and you want to be a pro. But it just seems like with the culture of the League community at the moment, it just doesn't really seem like something anyone would want to do. Just unfortunately.
So again, does it just need the one? Just that what the Ronda Rousey, the Serena Williams, and then let's say Gabby, if you had one of those to strike, let's say there was a female world champion, do you think that would have motivated you to be a more professional player, or still then you'd still think it's just not worth it?
At the moment, I would still think it's not worth it. Like I've thought about it too. Like we've all thought about it, but like I've already gone to uni. I've already done all that, so I'm too old.
Yeah,
you're it, Kitty.
Well,
Athena's
obviously,
the last hope.
it depends on like how much the female esports is paying and how much exposure it's getting in on social media to make it a stable and to make it a stable job or an income. But I feel like not a lot of people would fund into like an all girls tournament like esports, because obviously we've seen Team Siren, we've seen that one girl team from Russia. They made absolute jokes of themselves. It's really sad. And I feel like just the culture in League of Legends, like the community in League of Legends, they just don't want to fund into something that potentially might end up in a loss of money. So
Okay.
obviously,
Well, I was gonna say, do you guys find it offensive? Because like, look, I find it offensive that there is even talk of a female league. Like, does it not offend you?
It doesn't offend me. I think we can compete just as much. It just depends on if we want to.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? But that showing that, like, because it makes sense for there to be a female league in basketball or a physical sport, but in my mind, if it's all even playing field, why would there need to be a female league? I just find that offensive. I mean, it's hard, easy for me to say it, like,
yeah, well,
there's female, but
there's female chess.
Offensive.
There's a female chess only section.
What?
I just feel like there's like this stigma on
bullshit.
female being like less interesting or not as competitive. Like when you go to other female sports, like when you go to female soccer, like professional soccer, everyone just jokes around saying like, oh, I don't watch that. Like, why would you watch that when you can watch the men's? I feel like the same thing would happen. So I'd rather still have it mixed. I wouldn't want it to be segregated at all.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, and there's no rules around it.
There's no rules. Like, that just hurts the female. Like, you always see that stuff about, like, oh, let's have an all-female competition. Yeah, we're for female power and shit. No, that's, like, actually hurting you, if anything.
Well, if you really think about it, it's also, like, let's say in all these others, like, let's say in esports specifically, again, if we're thinking that there's not really barriers in terms of physical capabilities, because, you know, it's obviously just sitting there playing a computer game, women in a way are discriminating against men by making their own leagues. What happens if you were again, theoretically, the best female player, you have your own female leagues, plus you can play in the male tournaments because there's no rules about females playing in males. You get to win all that prize money. That's possible, right?
well, obviously
right,
they make a restriction for it, but have you guys heard of Myumi's situation with INTZ? So Myumi was a Brazilian pro player for the Brazilian esports. I think her team was called INTZ. It's like INTZ.
INTZ.
Oh, yeah, we've versed that before.
Yeah. So Myumi was actually a sub for that team, and she played all the support champions. Her favorite champion is on her Twitch is listed as Nautilus. She literally is the ideal professional support. She has a large range of a large champion pool, right? But she actually filed a lawsuit against her company or her organization because she felt like she was discriminated by her organization because she thinks that her org only hired her as a social media like
A marketing
Publicity
tool.
stunt.
yeah, as a marketing tool. And she didn't get any stage time. She got to play one tournament in I think she got to play a really small tournament where she played like one game, I think. But I feel like the root of the problem is always like the higher ups and how their mindset towards towards female gamers. It like the community doesn't matter, but if even the higher ups tell you that you're only a marketing tool, it obviously discourages females from even entering that type of scene. So, yeah,
Makes
Myumi
sense.
has moved on into a content creator for TSM nowadays.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow, what a shame. And that's the sort of story that only needs to happen once to scar.
Well, again,
a
it's
whole-
cultural then, right? It's like this is
Yeah.
it's cultural. So that's what
It
it
has to
sounds
happen
like.
once.
That's a huge issue. So I think we've pretty much covered this topic very extensively.
Hey, well, Nathan, but we didn't say what your take on it. We all said our opinion.
Oh, so
It's
we're
your
talking
turn.
about I didn't.
Is
I
it
didn't, did I?
possible?
I thought I was. Is
No.
it possible?
Yeah,
I would say in the next 20 years, not possible for a female.
we're talking
to be
world champion
in
or just
League of
go pro?
Legends.
Because mine was to go pro. I didn't even say no one could even go pro in a major region. I said,
Okay, go
specifically
pro.
major region. But it's yours. You can answer however you want, though. But I just to clarify that.
So it's funny. Originally going into this conversation, I thought it was definitely possible to be a world champion in like the next 20, 30 years. But after hearing a lot, especially from Athena's and Gabi's perspective, about how many challenges there are, and again, this hypothetical superstar, what do we call it, Katarina the Kid, again, so many issues anyway. It's like, it's you're running up a hill, you know, it's a really hard hill. So I would say that in League of Legends, I'd say that I agree. I think there will never be a world champion female player, but there will be a professional player or a couple of professional players in the next, couple of decades.
You think in the next couple of decades?
Yeah.
Like 20, 30 years?
Yeah. They will attempt and try. Again, but they won't reach the top in a major region, but they won't reach the top.
Okay.
I think you're right. I think it just takes like one org to take the risk, but it all depends on if they can afford to and if someone actually wants to.
Yeah, they'll take the risk, but again, there's so much goes into it, as we've discussed on this podcast, that you're talking about winning the lottery. You know, you
no, because I'm terrified because remember, this could go two ways. This one girl gets through and gets picked up. What happens to that one scenario in that one case will actually have a flow-on effect for the rest of.
You're saying negative flow-on effect.
It could be both, right? If she does really well and she integrates perfectly, they figure out a niche solution to separate her and make sure the guys don't because again, let's get. This is something I forgot to mention, but exactly what you were saying earlier, Athena. You were saying how Rob would have told you a lot about how intense post-game discussions can get. You don't want, at the end of the day, look, because I don't believe that like a guy and a girl can be friends, like purely friends. Like there's always an element of like if we're talking like an actual best friend or whatever like that. I don't think that can happen in my opinion, because there's always like an element of like sexual,
biological.
There's some sexual tension always, no matter what. Like that's just my take on it. Anyway, if they're in the house and you just had a really rough set, and you got to get into that, you got to really be brutal. Like you got to say, look, Kitty, I fucking hate it that you went in here. Why are you posturing like that? How come you died like that? Like I can't have a single doubt in my mind that I can't just rip into you, that I can't go ham, just as I would with the other guy on my team. I can't treat you differently whatsoever. And I'm afraid that just because of the this is just the what it's like culturally. It's very difficult to treat a girl the same way at that level, the same way, and to be absolutely
objective.
I don't know what the word is. Objective about it. And I think that it would actually have an effect on the post-game reviews. That's another reason that I think that also a girl can't be pro, because I think that it would also have it would be just a shit show. I think that would also cause a whole host of problems. And to use an analogy for this, let's just say, Gabi, I'm assuming you've moved. So you live out of home, or you live with your boyfriend or something like that. You've moved out before, so you know logistically, the operation of moving into a new place is a nightmare, right? And for Athena here, I'm assuming you still live at home, right? Yeah. If someone were to say, you know, why don't we go, one of your friends says to you, why don't we just go rent a place? You know, next year, let's move out together and we go rent a place and whatever. Because you've, like, never done it before, you're not going to think it's that hard. You're going to think, yeah, it's challenging, but, like, you'll forget all of the small details, all the logistics. You're like, shit, we got to, like, buy a bin for the bathroom. We've got to buy a doormat. We've got to buy a shoe rack. We've got to buy tea towels. We've got to buy, like, pillowcases, and, like, I got to buy Ethernet cables to connect my modem to my, like, all these little details that you don't realize that you have at home. These won't come to your attention until you're in the shit, until you've done it. Gabi would know moving house is like a nightmare. You've missed all these little details everywhere, and it takes months to get all the little things. And my point that I'm trying to get across here is this is what would happen, I feel like, if a girl were to join a team. There's all these unforeseen problems that have never been experienced before. And I'm not saying that they are unsolvable, but the solutions aren't yet there because the problems haven't been presented. And I don't think a team, or a team that's actually very savvy, and by then hopefully we're talking decades, these teams actually know what the hell they're doing, hopefully, they're going to be smart enough to be like, look, we are venturing into brand new territory. We already know how stressful it is to run an esports org or a team. We're bringing in now a whole list of variables that we've never considered before. What's going to happen when they're late at the office together and there's only two of them? What's going to happen when their apartments are right next to each other? What's going to happen when then there's an argument and then she starts crying?
This is also like very, from a girl's perspective, if a girl was hired as a professional player, you still have to take in consideration about the time of the month, you know? Girls get especially extremely emotional and sensitive around that month. You know, sometimes they're physically like bounded to the bed. And what if you're one day reviewing like a game, or perhaps you even just lost a game, and you just tipped her over the edge, you know? Guys aren't educated about like the female like PMS stage, so maybe sometimes it might ruin the team's dynamic or the team's environment just because they don't understand how the female body works. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, spot
on. That and you know what? I've seen this before. That could cause a chain effects, and all it takes in a team is one negative experience between two players to fuck up their relationship for the entire split, for the entire year. They're done. You have to get a new player next year because their relationship's done. And you know how that would work? What would happen? I could even see it happening. You know, Athena and AD carry, bot lane. You just got counterpicked in draft 3 games in a row. You're trying to figure out the meta at the start of the week. We get into a few scrims. And your top lane or your mid lane or your jungle, they're doing well, but you're just getting stomped in the 2v2's bot lane. And then your jungler, or says, like, Schernfire, for example, comes to your bot lane and says, because Schernfire, is a classic Schernfire response, is like, say something really aggressive, like, can you guys, like, just stop dying 2v2? Like, why do you guys die 2v2 every single game? Like, you just say something like that, boom, you're on your period or whatever, you're pretty already angry, pissed off, and frustrated.
Come out.
Boom, and then you say that. You even say, and you start crying with tears, and whatever it is, and then you say, he's like asking, why are you upset? I say, oh, I'm fine. You say, no, what's wrong? He say, oh, I'm on my period. Boom, he's automatically thinking, why am I playing with a girl? I'm at a disadvantage. they're already thinking about why did we get this player. That's all it takes. Done. Slightest crack, slightest chink in the armor, it's game over. I've seen this already with players. All it takes is one slip up.
That's just between males and males.
And that's been males and males, let alone... This is what I'm saying. I think it's impossible. It's just impossible. Like, I can't... I don't even think
basically, you're saying that women can't work with men in a highly... the highest possible competitive environment.
No, I'm just saying league. League is a unique... League is a unique game.
So the cultural problem of League of Legends, or just the game is the way it's designed?
This is the game. Just the way the game... Because, look, think about League comparatively to a traditional sport. I think a girl, for some... If League... Okay, let's bring a sport like NFL. Alright? Okay, not even, actually. Whatever, basketball. If for some reason females were the same genetically as men... Say there was no physical differences, like they had as much muscle, as much testosterone, whatever it is. And even if they had their period, I think it could probably work. But because what happens, you're only training a few hours a day together. You go in, you train, you go home. But League, you train all day. You wake up, you're VOD reviewing, you train, then you scrim, then you solo queue together. Like, it's not a normal contact, like, sport. It's not a normal traditional sport. It's an artificial environment that has not yet... People haven't realized how brutal a League of Legends environment is at the competitive level. It's terrible. It's not healthy. It's terrible. So, yeah, I can't... This is why Nathan, and... Look, I'm not just saying this to be pessimistic. I'm just like, I want to put this out there. That it's just the way it is. It's just I just don't even think it's even remotely close. I think your chances of winning the lottery are much higher. Okay, and the thing is, this ties back to my initial point, which goes back to that one case, that one girl who is good enough, who actually gets rank 1 in solo queue. She somehow a team decides to invest in her. The negative of that situation is going to cause so much of a shitstorm that it will permanently scar females in League of Legends for the rest of the time. Forever.
It's like that person's the best shot and it still didn't work. Okay, we should just give up on
because the success and the continuation of what we see, how many females will be in esports and League of Legends, will dictate off that first case, that first female that goes in the team.
I guess it'll be interesting to see this Overwatch example that Athena mentioned.
Yeah.
See where that goes.
She did have looking for team on her bio, so I will keep my eyes out for Aspen in Overwatch.
All right, well, I think we're pretty much going to wrap it up there, unless anyone else has any other thoughts on the topic. Gabi?
I think I disagree with the whole period sort of thing. I think, like, if you're really at that professional level, you should be emotionally intelligent enough to be able to compartmentalize and not emotionally respond when you need to improve. I don't think that something biological like a period will really affect that. I've never had it affect me. The only thing is what Kitty said, in that some women on their period are literally bedbound. Like, they're in so much pain that they wouldn't even be able to practice. But I don't feel like something like that should really be a limitation here.
So you're talking about from the female side or from the male side? Okay.
From the female side. I think if you are driven enough... Oh, sorry.
No, continue.
I just think if you're driven enough, you should be able to keep that separate. Like, obviously you can't stop your period, but you should be able to know, I'm on my period, I need to be more prepared, I need to not explode. I just feel like it's not...
You'll adapt. You'll be able to adapt.
Well, I think Gabi is overseeing the fact that a lot of pro players have extremely low EQ. They may have high IQ for the game, but they have low EQ. And if you were saying, oh, the female is bedbound, they'll be like, oh, my support, she's bedbound. It's the time of the month. I can't scrim. Dude, this is so, we're losing so much practice. Why did we even, you know what I mean? Where I'm coming from? A lot of League players, they don't understand the female body. They have low emotional intelligence. So they wouldn't realize when they cross over the boundary, They wouldn't know when you just tick them off by that little bit on the female side. And they would be like, what did I say wrong, Yeah, continue, Gabi.
Sorry. I feel like men tend to have lower emotional intelligence, especially in a game like League where it's very egocentric. But I feel like that can simply be taught, but they just haven't had to yet. Like I feel like a lot of League is egos, a lot of it is flaming, or because these men don't have a reasonable emotional outlet. But I feel like all of that can be taught. Like I don't think a period.
I agree.
should.
I
I
agree.
agree.
I just feel like,
And again, I think that the current players, I think I love how Athena's just roasting every professional League of Legends player and they're there. You guys just have zero emotional intelligence. But I think that and Curtis and I talk about this all the time. The current, median age of an esports professional, League of Legends players, between 18 and 24. But we think that as the industry matures, that these players the median age will continue to increase, and you have the best players are going to be 30 years old plus, because they're going to be brought up in the esports ecosystem, and the training, it's going to be more long-term focused rather than just people get burnt out in 2 years. So that's an element as well, that maybe that's again potentially not an issue.
Yeah, but as well. Oh, sorry, Gabi.
No, you go. I'll go next.
I was just going to say one thing we have to factor into this, Nathan, is that I think where Kitty's coming from, the whole EQ is going to get lower. Like the baseline is going to get lower and like they're going to be like the EQ standard of the average 18-year-old. Let's just say give it a score of 100 in 2010 is going to be 70 in 2025.
And why is that?
Just because of society and the cult, the everything, and the way as well. Even like think about a kid growing up now. I'm terrified. I am petrified. I'm scared of having a kid. Part of me thinks I don't even want a kid because I'm terrified of the situation they're going to be within. They're on a tablet by like 3 years old. They're going to probably stumble onto Twitch by 10 years old. You can ban them all you want, and they're gonna be so tech savvy. They're gonna know what to do before they're gonna be able to code. It's gonna be in school. They're gonna know how to hack the system before we even know what the hell they're playing on, dude. We think we're all tech savvy now. Like I just think that the way culture is in terms of social media and everything, they're gonna be so screwed EQ wise. Like, dude, think about it now. I can't even talk to a 16-year-old nowadays. I don't even know what they're talking about. Like
they talk in Twitch memes. They talk in Twitch.
I literally talk to someone. This guy says, "Oh, Pepega, oh yeah, Sag," and then like, I'm like, what does that mean, dude? I'm being dead serious. I can't actually communicate with a 16-year-old a lot of the time. I struggle.
Such a boomer, Curtis.
And it's getting worse. I mean, I'm saying we've got to account for that. Yes, the average age is getting higher, but at the same time, they're starting from a lower grade, so.
Okay, I think that's a whole nother podcast. Yeah,
that is.
We're not going to cover it at the end, yeah. So I think we did some good work here. We explored many sections of this topic. Athena, Gabi, any last words on the topic here? Any shout outs? What you guys are doing?
You can plug your stream if you want.
I'm shy. So I frequently stream on Twitch right now. My @ is @kitwy because I couldn't get the username Kitty, but it's KIITTWY. So if you want to check me out, I play solo queue.
We can put that in the description, Nathan.
Yes, we can indeed.
Thank you.
Gabi, any final comments, words?
No, I just really enjoyed this actually. Yeah, I don't really have much to say. Like I just have my Twitter. I'm not really streaming much. I'll probably get back into it soon, but work is a bit full on. So, yeah.
Thanks for coming on, guys, and appreciate it. And I'll hopefully see you guys in solo queue.
We'll see everyone on the Rift, yeah.
Take your LP.
Tight in the community.
Kitty, I'm going to take your LP, so you better watch out.
Stop. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you
guys.
in BBC episode number 40.